What's up, everybody? Doc Dark 1985. There's levels to this. Do another perspective podcast. It's your boy. I already introduced myself, Doc Dark. And yeah, I like how yesterday's podcast turned out. So we're here. We're going to do it again. We're just gonna have a conversation about a few topics that I wrote down from things that I saw, either that was going on today, conversations that popped up today, and even some as video. There's still a lot of things to talk about, and I think right now we can focus where gaming is going. We keep hearing this conversation that gaming is changing, that the end is the same, that something with sustainability all the time, over and over again, right? So let's go ahead and have this conversation and see how we feel. Just like I did yesterday, I'm just gonna throw ideas out there, talk through them. You listen to my voice, and you decide if we want to engage or not. All right. So if we're gonna talk about the future of gaming, I want to start by talking about Xbox's future hardware. So number one, are they only gonna have one hardware, or are they gonna have two? So we know there's a handheld coming. Okay. Is that handheld going to be a handheld that's supposed to be dockable as well? Or is it just a freeform handheld and they're going to have a separate hardware that's actually one that's connected to your TV? Okay, that's not the exciting part out of all of this because we already have handhelds that are dockable and we already have dedicated hardware that you can connect to. The exciting part about this, if this is true, is another, I guess you could call it a rumor, which, if you want me to be honest with you, I remember this being a rumor before the Xbox Series X came out. I know somebody has to remember this. Before the Xbox Series X came out, this rumor that I'm about to say was already a thing. What's up, ISO? The rumor was that Xbox was going to have Steam on it, or you were going to be able to access Steam on the Xbox. Man, I know somebody out there's got to have this information. I'm trying to remember where I saw it from, where I heard it from. ISO, if you know where we heard it from, let me know. Shout out to my boy ISO Motion VR. He's in the chat right now. He's got a VR channel. Go check him out, man, if you about VR. But back on track, Steam on Xbox. Listen, Phil did say in that interview that he wants you to choose your hardware based on the features that are on the hardware, not based on the software. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not see a reason for me to buy a console again after I've been able to experience PC. But that doesn't mean that innovation can't come out and make a compelling argument for a console for me to purchase, especially if you make a pretty powerful console that does have access to the Steam. If you make a pretty powerful console that has access to Steam, especially if an Xbox does some type of PC hybrid that has the Xbox OS operate, or UI operating in the front of it, but it's just Windows in the background. Hey, that might be a thing. A PC disguised as a console. I think if Xbox makes that type of console next generation, I could see myself purchasing it. The only problem is they would have to make sure it's powerful enough because I don't think they would make a console that you would be able to upgrade yourself. It'd be like a proprietary type of PC, just like I think Alienware is known for making PCs like that, and that's why people don't like. So as much as people would like to make fun of my Walmart PC, my Walmart PC has actual different brands. So like my graphics card is a XF. I don't remember the third letter, but it's like one of those Swift graphics cards. My motherboard is Asus motherboard. So it's got actual parts that you can buy. They're not proprietary parts, and then the case is big enough that I can switch out the graphics card and the power supply and all that other stuff. Whereas someone correct me if I'm wrong, but some pre-built PCs make it difficult to actually upgrade them yourself, right? Depending on what brand you purchase. So Xbox's next console might possibly be quote unquote a pre-built PC. I doubt they'll make it upgradable because they're probably gonna want you to buy the next console after that. But who knows? I may be wrong. But if they do that, but it's more console like PC, then yeah, that is compelling. That is compelling. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with what that next hardware is gonna be. Staying in the whole concept of the future of gaming. What's up, Prims? Staying with the whole concept with the future of game. There's this one company, right? Because everybody's talking about all this changes and everything that's happening and the industry's changing and everything. There's one company that's not changing at all, and they're one of the most successful gaming companies out there. That's Nintendo. So I keep seeing people saying that the console wars are over and all this other stuff, and I agree the console wars are over. But the real victor, if you really want to be honest about it, when it comes to console warring or consoles, period, it's gonna be Nintendo. I don't know if anyone can disagree with that. Right now, the Nintendo Switch has been announced, and everybody knows that the hardware is still behind what it should be. Yet nobody is questioning whether or not this Nintendo Switch 2 is going to sell. Why is the Nintendo Switch 2 going to sell? Why? It's going to sell because of the software. And at that point, I got to go back to what Phil says. Okay, Phil says he wants you to pick a hardware based off of the capabilities of the hardware, but I'm not sure if Phil's reading the industry correctly himself. I'm not. But for you and I as a gamer, again, this is the Gamer's Perspective podcast. What are we choosing? Do you want? I guess that's the. I'll probably make that a question on Twitter. Do you want to pick your hardware based on the capabilities of the hardware, or do you want to pick your hardware based off the software of your hardware? I don't know what that answer is gonna be. For me, it's definitely going to be based off of the capabilities of the hardware, but you got to be able to use that capability. You're not just going to throw a capability in there and then have me waiting for tools, right? That's not what I want. So, Nintendo, I would say, when it comes to the console war out of all of this, I would say Nintendo won, right? Then for sure, Sony is up there. And if we're talking console strictly, Xbox does lose when you're talking about just console. Now, again, as a gamer, if you're only gaming on the Xbox Series X and you have Game Pass, you're only missing a few games, right? So I'm sure you're fine. If you're only gaming on a PS5, right, you have access to all the games, but or more games, but you got to purchase them, right? And even that statement, to be honest with you, is not 100% truthful because sometimes we talk as if everything is already on PlayStation. Sometimes we talk as if you can play Halo Infinite right now on PlayStation, and the reality is you can't. You still can't play Starfield. You still can't play Indiana Jones. You still can't play Gears. You still can't play Forza. So I get it. Yes, everything is going over there, but everything is not over there just yet. So not only are you still paying full price, but you're still not playing everything over there just yet, right? But for the sake of that argument, I don't even know if I could do that. If I could say that the PlayStation gamer can see the future where they're definitely going to be the ones winning because everything is going over there. But as of right now, there still might be games that they might have to purchase an Xbox for. And Xbox is looking at PlayStation, right? There might be games that you might have to purchase a PlayStation for. Nintendo gamers, though. Nintendo gamers, if you purchase a Nintendo, you know exactly why you purchased that Nintendo. Purchase that Nintendo for the Nintendo games. You probably purchase a Nintendo for specific franchises. You might like, let's say, Mario Kart and Smash Bros, and that's it. Or you might like Smash Bros and Zelda, and that's it. Or maybe you're a Mario and Mario Kart type of person. Or Mario and Splatoon, and that's it. Right? You might not like everything that Nintendo has to offer, but what they do have to offer is strong. And oh my God, how could I leave out Pokemon? Some people, I guarantee you, buy Nintendo just for Pokemon. So yeah, Nintendo is definitely, the company when it comes console war wise or console sales wise or console period as a gamer that yeah, they're straight. So where does that leave Xbox? There's a term out there, people have been saying this since forever, that Xbox is dead. When I made a video saying that Sony is dead, it was a very powerful video. I think that video hit like 12K within like, I don't know, something crazy like 8 hours. Within an 8 hour period, that video had something like 12K views or something. Sony is dead. Just the sensationalism of saying that something is dead. And I got attraction from PC gamers, PlayStation gamers, and Xbox gamers going to it. And I literally started the video saying, did I get your attention? Did you click on the video? So I was literally letting people know, like, hey, I'm saying Sony is dead to get your attention. Obviously, Sony's not dead. Having 70 million people buy your console doesn't make sense to think that you're dead. It doesn't make any sense. The point of that video, though, I spoke about how Sony has no games. Sony has no games, right? But then the same thing is being said with Xbox, that Xbox is dead, and a lot of people are believing it. The same way that Sony is still alive, even though they have no current games or they have minimal games in the pipeline, is the same way that I will tell you Xbox is still alive, even though their console is not doing the greatest, because they're excelling in another place, which is the games. So where Sony is excelling in the hardware, Xbox is excelling in the games department, to the point where you can't even say Xbox has no games. Xbox has no games will make you look really stupid. Somebody said Xbox can't save Sony because Xbox can't even save themselves. And I sat there and I looked at that and I said, huh, this person must not even see what Xbox is doing. If Xbox would have stayed in the trajectory that it was going during the Xbox One era, I believe then you could say Xbox can't save itself, because it definitely would have failed. It had a stigma. It had that Xbox tax. No matter what they put out there was not good. They had to come up with a way to get people excited about Xbox. So they had to figure out a way to reinvent themselves. And by golly, they did. They did that. So Xbox did save themselves. People saying Xbox can't. No, no, no. Xbox did save themselves. They might have had to have sacrificed the console a little bit, put the console in the back burner. But the image of what Xbox is, or the idea of what Xbox is, little by little is becoming more clear. And all it's going to do is take time for people to adopt and understand it. That even myself gaming on my PC, I have an Xbox background. Like, Xbox is perfectly fine as long as I'm playing their games. So again, Xbox did save themselves. I would argue that they had to abandon the console, slow down on prioritizing the console to save themselves, and they definitely did it. How did they do it? They did it with a subscription service that every single person deems unsustainable. I got to take a sip of my pre-workout for this one, because what I'm about to transition over to right now is the title of this podcast. Subscription service. Is this the future of gaming? I've been wrong before. I said that Stadia was going to be the future of gaming, because I got to experience Stadia and I was blown away of how great it was. Oh my goodness. I remember coming home, all it was a dongle that was attached to the back of my TV and a controller, and it worked flawless. I'm saying, if you were a minimalist, being a Stadia owner was perfect. And I thought Stadia was going to be the future of gaming. But then when Stadia was gone and I had to use other cloud services like xCloud, I can't stick behind that cloud gaming is the future. It'll be the future, probably well by the time I'm gone. Probably like 40, 50 years from now, I think maybe cloud gaming will be the future. But there's no way it's the future now. I'm sitting here with Wi-Fi 6, okay, Wi-Fi 6 connectivity, and still can't get cloud gaming to feel as great as it felt on Stadia with even G Cloud and even I not G Cloud, G Force Now and stuff. I'm telling you just what my experience is, and that's a problem with cloud gaming is that it's not the same everywhere you go. So that's not the future. Even though a lot of companies are adopting cloud streaming and all that other stuff. But what is something else that all these gaming companies are adopting that might be the future of gaming? Subscription services. Now, subscription services have dominated every other type of media. And I know gamers, we like to say, like, hey, gaming is different. Gaming is different. Gaming is different. Are we really? How much different is it? How much different is it really? I don't know. You tell me how much. Why do you think there's no way that gaming is going to be prominent in a streaming types, not streaming, in a subscription type service? I got to give a shout out to Lono from Reach First Gaming. He was having a conversation about today on his channel on his live stream, and I just happened to pop in when he was talking about it. And man, I was when sometimes you're listening to something and you're like, damn, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense, but then you remember something that you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because there's an example that contradicts it. That's what happened to me when I was listening to Lono's stream, and to his credit, he was able to explain why he wasn't aware of what I'm about to talk about right now. So Sony has a subscription service, a gaming subscription service, meaning you could buy a PlayStation and not buy any games. And with the subscription service alone, have a lot of different games to play. So the only time you would buy a game is if you wanted to buy the newest games from Sony because they don't drop them on the subscription service. So I need to understand Sony already does this. Okay. Nintendo already has a subscription service as well. It's more about the retro games and stuff like that, but they also have that. So you can buy a Nintendo console and not buy any single game. Okay. Now, Xbox, the other console manufacturer, obviously they have a subscription service, Game Pass, right? And with Game Pass, same thing. You can literally buy an Xbox and not buy any single game. So I want us to all stay together on this. PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox all have a subscription service that does not require you to buy any games after you purchase their hardware. All three of them have that. The difference is that the newer games, right, on PlayStation and on Nintendo have to be purchased. The new games on the Xbox are coming to Game Pass day and date. And to my surprise, PlayStation has put other people's games day and date on their subscription service, apparently. Somebody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But all three of them have subscription services. Okay. Now, all three of them, PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox, they're all gaming companies and they're all publishers. They all publish games. Okay. And they're all platforms as well. All right. Now we have EA that also has a subscription service. And then we have Ubisoft Plus, Ubisoft that also has a subscription service as well. The only platform that I can think of, if you're thinking about PC and it's really more of a storefront, right, would be Steam. And Steam does not have a subscription service, not that I know of, but they're not really considered a publisher to the same magnitude as PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo is. And if you disagree, by all means. Hey, what's going on, Silence? Good evening. If you disagree, by all means, let me know. So Steam is different. Steam sells everybody else's games. That's what they do, and then obviously they have their games as well, right? But for the most part, they sell a lot of everybody else's games. That's perfectly fine. No, nothing wrong with that. But this is one of the things that I guess was in the conversation with I don't know that I want to talk to you guys about. Everyone keeps saying that subscription services is not the future, that you gotta buy your games, that it doesn't make sense to put your games on a subscription service. However, guys, I need you to understand this. Again, I realized this when I was watching Lono's podcast. The top three best selling games of 2024. The top three. I believe it was Call of Duty number one. Madden 25, I think, was number two. And FC 25 was number three. Might have been maybe college football, maybe, or what. I don't know. But I know that the top three games, maybe top four. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the chat. Look up the top three best selling games of 2024 for all platforms. The point I'm trying to make is Call of Duty is on a subscription service, which you can play the game day and date. FC 25 is on a subscription service, which you can play 20 days. So EA has their own game on a subscription service. Okay. The other one was what I said was Madden. Madden also on a subscription service that you could play their games day and date. Ubisoft is going to drop the Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is a huge AAA game day and date on their subscription service. So my question is really simple. If subscription service do not make sense, why is every other major gaming publisher that has AAA games putting their games on subscription services so you could play their games day and date via that subscription service? I don't understand why they would do that. Why would listen, Madden 25 is going to sell. They don't have to put that on a subscription service. Yet they do. FC 25, they knew that was going to sell, but why would they put it on a subscription service? Assassin's Creed Shadows, we know this game's going to sell, but why did they put this on a subscription service? It's their own subscription. Why did they do this? Well, the better question is, why is Sony not putting their games on their own subscription service? I mean, I do think that subscription service is going to be the future of gaming, just the same way that you are subscribed to Netflix, Hulu, and you're also subscribed to Amazon, right? HBO Max, right? Disney. The same way you subscribe to all these things, it just makes sense that if eventually you're gonna pick a subscription service gaming wise to subscribe to. Now, when I just mentioned Netflix, Hulu, and all those stuff, that's kind of lucrative because a lot of people do subscribe to more than just one. But when it comes to music, you probably only subscribe to one streaming platform, one subscription based platform. And that's because these platforms all share, you know, the same music for the most part. They have different features or whatever, but they both share the same music. So what does that mean for gaming though? Do you see a future where publishers are enticed by making sure they have the best content so that you subscribe to their subscription service, right? Or do you think that no, everyone's going to go back to the traditional model and is going to get rid of subscription service? So again, EA does day and date, right? Ubisoft does day and date. Xbox does day and date. Microsoft does day and date. And EA for sure is one of the biggest publishers out there. Ubisoft also has to be one of the big publishers as well. And here's Xbox as well being one of the biggest publishers. And they all are doing day and date for their AAA games. Sony is the only one that's not doing it. To be fair though, Sony doesn't really have too many stuff coming out right now. I mean, Yote is not going to be on a subscription service, and neither is going to be Intergalactica. You definitely got to pay for all of those. But I thought that was interesting. Something else that's been popping up right now is this whole industry changing thing that exclusivities are going to be gone, and that Sony is also going to follow suit when it comes to leaving exclusivity behind. In order for you To say that Sony is still has exclusivity in mind, you would have to discount PC, right? Which then means Sony is not putting their games on just one platform, which is Xbox, because they have put their games on Nintendo with Horizon, right? Horizon, Lego Horizon, that came out on the Nintendo Switch. So I understand when people are saying the industry is changing and exclusivity is no longer going to be a thing, but I got to talk about that one company that's still winning. The one company that truly is winning. That is Nintendo. I don't see Nintendo putting their games on anything anytime soon cuz they truly don't need to. Their cost margin to make these games doesn't seem like it's as high as the other publishers. So it looks like everything is perfectly fine on their front. So again, whenever we make these absolute statements, sometimes we have to be conscious of every single player that's in the game. The only way you can make an absolute statement sometimes is if you remove a certain player from the chessboard. And at that point, it's not an absolute statement. You put a caveat to it. So if you're going to say Sony still has exclusives, well, no, because they have their games on PC. Well, Sony has console exclusives. Okay, now you're being not even because they got the games on Nintendo, right? But when you say things like exclusives are dead or exclusives are gone, then you're still wrong because there is a company out there that is still holding strong with exclusives and is succeeding. I say this all the time. Life is not fair. Don't expect life to be fair. Why can Nintendo get away with it? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But it just is what it is. They can. You are not Nintendo. It is what it is. So I wanted to point that out as well. The last thing I'm going to leave, the last topic that I'm going to talk about is this one here. This was fresh off the press. MLB The Show is no longer going to be on Game Pass. And depending on how you feel about subscription services is how you're going to feel about this news. The doom and gloomers are going to say, "Ha, there's proof that subscription services don't make sense because MLB The Show is not going to come on Game Pass." Even though, even though Call of Duty, which was the best-selling game last year and came out in late in the year, was on a subscription service. Even though Madden, I believe again was one of the best-selling games last year, is on a subscription service. FC 25, same thing, one of the best-selling games is also on a subscription service. They're only gonna look at MLB The Show and say, "Ha, showed you that subscription services don't make sense." Actually, I lied. They're not going to say subscription services. They're going to say, "Ha, told you that Game Pass doesn't make sense." They're going to specifically attack Game Pass. Well, if it made sense, why didn't MLB The Show keep it on Game Pass? And this is the thing that I was looking at. I didn't see anybody else say this. But to me, it's like this. Hey, when a game goes on Game Pass, I'm assuming that it's a deal that's struck between Xbox and that game publisher. That's what I can only assume. That Game Pass, Xbox is saying, hey, this is the amount of money we're gonna give you, put your game on here, and that company either says yes, no, or comes up with a different amount of money, and they go back and forth until they figure out what the appropriate amount of money is. That's the only thing I could anticipate. What's up, Max City? That's the only thing I could anticipate. But I need you to understand that for a deal to happen, both sides have to agree on it. What if MLB The Show is not coming on Game Pass because Xbox didn't like the terms? Maybe Xbox is, because remember, they all have this data. Maybe Xbox is like, "Yo, your game didn't do that hot on our subscription service anyways. We got so much stuff that our gamers are going to be playing. No, MLB, The Show, you don't rate that much money to put your game on Game Pass. We're not going to give you that much money." Maybe it was Xbox that terminated that and said, "Yeah, we good. We don't need you on. How much you want? Nah, we good." Did you guys ever think about that? How come nobody ever thinks about that? Everybody's thinking that like Microsoft is out here begging for these games to come on Game Pass, and that then these games are like publishers are the ones with all the power saying yes or no. I doubt it. I bet you they're figuring out what makes sense for both. I guarantee you they're figuring out what makes sense for the same way I guarantee you that Xbox is figuring out what makes sense for both to put games. I guarantee you they're figuring out what makes sense for both. So MLB The Show now is not coming to pass, and for whatever reason, people are trying to use that as proof that Game Pass is bad, Game Pass is not sustainable. And it disappoints me when I see a lot of smart people taking this narrative when in reality, A, you don't know if it was MLB The Show's decision not to go on Game Pass or if it was Game Pass' decision not to have MLB The Show on there anymore. You don't know. All you got to know as a gamer is that now, if you enjoyed MLB The Show, you either got to buy it or you don't play it. That's it. You either buy the game or you don't play it. That's the choice. My big bro Puerto Rock 77 says something about buying power, right? And yes, there's a lot of buying power on the PlayStation side with the 70 million, what's it called, users over there. However, comma, there could be buying power or subscription power as well on the subscription side of all of it. Because if Game Pass does grow to a point where if you want your game to actually be played and make money off of microtransactions and stuff like that, it would behoove you to put your game on Game Pass. That could really disrupt the industry. And I think that's what Microsoft is going for. Hey, we're not gonna get as many people as we can on our console. But let's see how many people we could get on our subscription service. And those that we can't get on our subscription service, we're gonna make them pay full price for these games elsewhere. Hey, it is what it is. I think that this is gonna be a pretty big test for MLB The Show to see if it's more successful not being on Game Pass than it is being on Game Pass. So if the next year comes around and we see MLB The Show 2026 on Game Pass, either Xbox bent the knee and gave MLB The Show what they wanted, or MLB The Show bent the knee. But remember, they already had a trial and they know how it is. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Harold? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it there, and I'll read some of these comments that you guys got, and I'll interact with you guys, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start heading to the gym. Game Pass needs popular games, and MLB The Show isn't a big game. Hey, that's fair, Harold. So that's what I was talking about, Harold. I was saying, hey, a lot of people are saying that MLB they're laughing. They're like, haha, MLB The Show is off of Game Pass, shows that Game Pass is not sustainable, or that Game Pass is not good. But nobody's talking about, like, what if it was Xbox that said, hey, your game is not good enough to be here? We're not going to give you that amount of money that you're asking for. You know what I mean? MLB The Show, not in Game Pass. That's it for that game. See, Max City's thinking that game's going to die now. There's a reason that MLB The Show decided to go multi-plat. There's a reason why a lot of these. Oh, I guess that's the real. If you guys want to talk about an extra topic, third-party publishers that don't have a hardware, is it beneficial for them to be exclusive? Is the deal that they're making with Sony beneficial for them to be exclusive? I don't know. Maybe that's not sustainable. I don't know. Sam says, I'm actually generally curious about the financials of Pass or even subservices in general. I mean, I would I'm not gonna say that I'm curious, right? But again, from Gamer's Perspective podcast, I'm telling you right now, if you're somebody that plays a lot of Madden and you play a lot of FC and all those other stuff, you could look at the EA lineup, and if EA looks enticing to you, especially on PC, the EA app, like, yo, you could go ahead and subscribe to it and get these games. Realistically speaking, I believe Ubisoft also has a monthly subscription. All of us could play Assassin's Creed Shadows for whatever that monthly subscription is, which has got to be cheaper than buying the game full price, play it, and then that's it. So there's something in the subscription service That has to make sense somewhere. If not, not all these big publishers would be doing it. Maybe I'm tripping. Let me know. Please, please let me know if I'm tripping. Why does EA have a subscription service if it doesn't make sense? Why does Ubisoft have a subscription service if it doesn't make sense? And I'm and Xbox. I'm only talking about the ones that I know that do day and date. Sony obviously has one, but they don't do day and date. And then Nintendo actually has one. They don't do day and date either. I'm just talking about the ones that do it day and date. Why would they do it? Especially those big games like that. I'm telling you, the top three games of 2024. Please, if I'm wrong, quote me if I'm wrong. The top three games of 2024, best selling games of 2024, are all on a subscription service, which you could get them day and date. Why? Obviously, they got no problem selling at full price. Why would they put them there? Maybe it's more beneficial to keep getting that user's money every single month. I'm just curious. Think games with microtransaction would work out well? I imagine. Yeah, it will for me. Doc can't speak for everyone else. It was only way I play the game every year. Okay, fair enough, Max City. Yeah. People also say that Game Pass is cultivating a whole bunch of people that are not going to buy games, and that's fairly true. I know it definitely did that for me. Like it was real hard for me to buy a game on Xbox when there was so many games on Game Pass, right? But I had no problem going to another platform and buying the game. So it was weird the way that worked. So when Phil says that Game Pass increased game sales, in my situation, it did, but for other publishers, not for Xbox publishers. You know what I'm saying? Now that I'm on PC, I'm willing to buy Xbox games to play them on Steam versus playing them on Xbox Game Pass, which doesn't make any sense either. I know. I could just play them on Game Pass. But again, I'm just being honest with you. But yeah, I mean, if everyone starts adapting that mentality, we can cry all we want. You know, the same thing. Blockbuster could have said the same thing about Netflix. Like, oh, Netflix is making people not wanting to go to the store to buy their get their rent their movies and all that other stuff. Yeah. So what do you do though? If most people start adopting that concept, then you're screwed. So I think the industry has to be has to hope that, well, I don't know. Depends what the industry want. I'm assuming they want people to buy the games full price. But again, it doesn't make sense. If you want people to buy your games full price, why does EA have a subscription service that they put their top selling games on the subscription service day and date? If you want people to buy your games full price, why does Ubisoft have a subscription service where you can go ahead and play their latest games day and date? If you take Xbox out of it, then it makes a difference. Somebody saying I think Luna also said, well, they don't have platforms, right? They're more publishers than anything else. But I mean, let's be honest, guys. I would argue that Xbox right now is as big as a publisher as they are a platform. Are we gonna lie about that? Are we gonna lie about that? Yeah, Harold says EA and Ubisoft Day One games is only on PC, I believe, though. But they're still doing it. I'm saying though, there's a way that you can still get these games on a subscription service. And you know what, Harold? I bet you that's blocked by PlayStation and Xbox to not have the ones day and date on their console. To not have the full subscriptions on their console. I bet you that's probably blocked by them. Because they don't have EA and Ubisoft, they don't have hardware. So I'm sure Xbox is like, nah, this game you have to sell on our platform. Nah, this game you have to sell on our platform. So when they're saying, you know what I mean? I bet you. No? But on PC, man, I bet you EA is like, yeah, we got people to buy it from our store. Why don't you just subscribe to it? I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I think they think it's gonna pay in the long run. That's right, Sam. Stuff doesn't. So again, all these people they gotta be smarter than all of us, right? So there it is. Day and date is a thing that's not just happening with Game Pass. And if you remove Xbox from the equation and you just were to talk about subscription services that do it, then you got to figure out, okay, why are they doing this? How does this even make sense? Why would UB Plus put Assassin's Creed Shadows subscription service and allow people to play it for like whatever that price is, $17, $18, whatever it is? You know? I don't know. You guys tell me. All right, guys. Dog1985 is levels to this. I appreciate you guys rocking out with me. Like I said before, go ahead, leave your comments in on the YouTube video, and if I see some comments that we want to react to the next time we have another episode, we'll do that. If you want to catch these live, come watch me on Twitch. And if you're not trying to catch any ads on Twitch, you just subscribe and you won't catch any ads, all right? But I appreciate everyone that's rocking out with me, and yeah, we out of here. Peace.